Good evening, everyone. We have 152 participants right now. Welcome to the second night of webinar on Sensitization on Rights and Duties, Human Values and Ethics. Tonight's topic is Human Values and Ethics, which will be delivered by our resource person, Gracie L. Boitlung, in MJS. We are immensely grateful to have her as a resource person. May I now invite Dr. Ladin Puyiralte, Assistant Professor, Department of Sociology, to deliver a welcome address.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, on behalf of the committee, I would like to thank each one of you for joining the webinar on Sensitization on Rights and Duties, Human Values and Ethics. I feel great proud to say that this webinar has been organized by Human Values and Ethics Committee, Patsunga University College, even during these trying times. The committee organizes such programs to enlighten the young minds and promote the importance of human values and ethics on students at all levels. In this regard, it is my privilege to welcome our speaker for the evening, Ms. Gracie L. Boitlung, Mizoram Judicial Service, who will be speaking on human values and ethics. Thank you so much, ma'am, for sparing your valuable time and joined us today to be a part of this webinar. We are honored to have you with us, and through the talk, we believe that it will enlighten us all and provides us with approaches for a better tomorrow. I also welcome our respected principal, Professor H.L. Thanzara, and all the faculties of Patsunga University College who have participated and graced the event. Lastly, but not the least, I'm thoroughly pleased to witness our students from the Department of Sociology, Psychology, and English. I welcome you all, dear students, and we are truly delighted with your presence. The webinar intends to resolve the practical hurdles faced by the society and thereby to reinforce the degrading human values and ethics, which is an essence for the society to move on. We would be delighted to have your suggestions and questions at the end of the event. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dinpui. Our resource person, Gracie L. Boitlung, may not need introduction for many of us. We are quite familiar with her, but however, for those of you who have not heard about her, may I invite Dr. Bobby from the Department of Geography to give an introduction of the resource person. Dr. Bobby.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chairman, for giving me this privilege to introduce our distinguished resource person. As we already heard, she needs no further introductions, but for those students who are at the younger stage, I would like to give a summary or a short introductions of our resource person, and we are very privileged to have her tonight in this seminar. Of course, this committee has been recently formed under a new principle. This is the first time that we are going to have this type of webinar, and we are very fortunate to have a distinguished resource person tonight in our midst tonight. And if I'm going to give a detail of all her biodata, it will take a very, very long time. Therefore, I'd like to shorten and highlight some of the important achievement and her previous academic and her official posts here in the national and abroad. Okay. Tonight, our resource person, as we already heard from our introductory speech, Ms. Gracie L. Boitlung, Joint Registrar. Presently, she is residing in Jatlang, and her father name is Mr. B. Vanal Siama. And regarding her age and years, she was born in the year 1985 on 2nd September. And regarding her educational qualification, she completed BA Political Science, LLB from University of Delhi, and LLM from abroad, that is from Delhi, okay, from Melbourne. And this is a very prestigious and a pronoun university with reference to this law, and we are very, very proud of her to complete her LLM from University of Melbourne. And regarding her previous assignment or previous work, she had been posted as civil judge, or JMFC, we call it, Judicial Magistrate First Class, in Siha district, and secondly in Lunglei district as civil judge come JMFC, and again in Lunglei as the same post, that is civil judge, and even the same post she holds in the district of Mamit. So she has been posted in different districts. It shows that she's been a very dynamic person regarding this in her profession. And presently, she is the joint registrar here in Aizawl. And regarding his biodata, she is a feminist, and her area of interest are international humanitarian law, international human rights, climate change law, legal pluralism, and international relations. These are some of the a very short introduction of our distinguished resource person, and I really hope that the students of Paching District College and even the faculty members of Paching District College will be truly blessed and will be benefited from her interaction. And we are very, very lucky and proud to have this kind of a very special person in our midst tonight. And I wish her all the best, that all the speech she's going to deliver will be a speech to remember in the days to come. And thank you, ma'am, for joining us here tonight. And on behalf of this committee, we are very, very proud of you to have with us here tonight. And that is all for the a summary of or the introduction of our distinguished resource person. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Bobby, for the detailed introduction, including the year of her birth. She has a long list of specialization, as we have just heard from Dr. Bobby. We are very fortunate to have Gracie Elboitlung as as a resource person tonight. For the students, just an information for the students, while Gracie is speaking, you may type your question in the chat box. You may address it to everyone, or you can address it to our discussion facilitator, Dr. Van Lervien Puya. You can search for him. He will be the co-host. If you can find him in the list of participants. And Ma'am Gracie, we also request you to explain legal jargons, if ever you're going to use it in Mizo, because some of our students may have difficulty in understanding difficult English. So if you can mix both English and Mizo, we will appreciate it very much. Now, without further ado, may I give the time to Gracie Elboitlung. Yes.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for giving me this time. And I hope I won't take up too much of your time on this Friday night. But firstly, I want to thank my very dear friend Zwali, who is, I think she teaches in PUC as well for actually like saying that I could do a good job with this particular sensitization program that PUC is going to hold. And also to Professor Rinpari for taking that forward and to actually bringing about the actualization of this program tonight. And I thank Dr. Bobby for the lovely introduction that you just gave me. And I thank the Madam Moderator and Dr. Dinpari for introducing the program. And I can, gallery, hold on, yes. So that way I can see a little bit of all of you. So tonight I'm going to talk about human values and ethics. And I'm just going to share my screen right away. Is it visible?
Yes, it is visible.
So I hope I won't bore you, but yeah, and basically it's if you look at human values and ethics, it is a sociological subject. These are sociological concepts, and even as Professor Rinpari was talking to me about this, I was a bit skeptical, but as I thought about the subject more and more, I felt that there was some justice that I could do to it if I bring in my own understanding and my own expertise. Let's say it's not an expertise actually, but like my own knowledge about law, the limited knowledge that I have, and possibly help you, the students of PUC, to add concepts in your value systems and your ethical conducts that you have in your daily life to help you, like as Dr. Dimpari was introducing the program. So basically to add nang manita na in hun local le tura in value system te, in ethics te, in ngay tuadan as a human being anga in nundan turin ngay tua kunga khan sociology concepts le missing humanitarian concepts me baka khan legal concepts ka in nei vet ya chu chana lo help vet he cheu kha ka base ya wangin hemi hi boin jana program po hi Dr. Rinparina, Professor Rinparin min so mangin karon telani ti kha kansoidonia. And okay, going on. So so when you think about yourself, like there are a lot of things that would motivate you, right? As human beings, we all have our motivations. Like your motivation might be to succeed, or you might have motivations to have power or money or religion or family or friends or fame, fitness, health, all of these things as I've listed down. This is obviously an inclusive list, and the list goes on. In motivation, or money. But what's important about the motivations that you have, and in terms of the program that we're having tonight, is that what motivates you, it has a content. Kami a content going on to my next slide. This is what I'm interested in. Your motivations are informed by your value systems and principles and standards that dictate and govern your behavior, right? So as human beings, like, for example, I put, as you can see that I've put a picture of the sticker from the Squid Game, which is taking the world by storm at this point. And I think it's quite relevant for young adults at this time. So Squid Game is taking the world by storm, right? So, and everyone's interested. I mean, for me personally, the whole concept is not very groundbreaking. Like, I'm sure you know, like the Hunger Games have done it, and they've done it well. And Squid Game, I'm not saying it's not done it well, but Squid Game also addresses a lot of issues. But one of the things that I really, I think it's relevant for our program today is that the value systems that those participants hold while they were conducting the game. Like, they all wanted money, they all wanted to succeed and eventually get the prize they came they played the game for. But in the process of playing, a lot of them were employing very different systems of values and ethics. And I don't want to have a spoiler kasi am do lawa in tan la endo the point la me thaya mase allow ento the one, you will understand and realize that those their motivations were informed by their value systems. So as young adults, like as I've written in the slides here, you need to consider what value system do you have? Like, if you are going for success, lotlin ilo du chuan I lotlin na tur ko nga khan engte hinge iti don. For example, mi chen khat chuan some of us chen khat tan chuan in lotlin ngur ani chuan the end justifies the means ti angzong in kan kala akung ka kan ngai to lawa as long as I get there I get X amount of money kan ti chuan it doesn't really matter the means that you employ. Di angzong kalte po himishinga kan omani. Tutu kan value system, kan ethical codes, kan principles, kan standards ka anita ani. So kamiya kanin like you will there these things are important not even in terms of your education but in terms of your life kan lo so ito ang kanan tani and also and your value system can be like as serious as saying that, oh, I'm not going to, for example, I'm not going to karil tram namin nourish tur yan. In order to nourish myself because of my hunger, I am not going to let any animal die, for instance. Okay, your value system can be as strong as that, or your value system can be like, well, I'm not going to drink coffee before I go to sleep. So these are all. It might be really small, mase kan value system ayan hingi at telvekani. And so as young adults, I would encourage you to consider what are your values, your standards, your principles, and inspect them and their workability, their justifiability and their relevance in terms of your present world, and be humble enough to unlearn and relearn. Tika introduction dew angin kansoy du tani chuanin came up and consciously in my own work, what I try to practice as a matter of priority, as a matter of my values, is always to have kindness, to have gratefulness, and importantly, integrity in my work. And I want to talk about integrity a little bit at the end of the segment. But going on, the only constant in life is change. Heraclitus, the Greek philosopher, pakatina soinia. So when you look at this, is that the whole thing about being humble enough to unlearn and relearn, Dika. So if you think about yourself, actually, the only thing constant in life is change, Dika. If you're willing to change along with times, if you're willing to change along with the dictates, not hey me na anti vanga lauti vek her tu ni ang zong ni lavin at hazong ang constructive ang zonga ikal dua in thap the ni chuan le it change khan chuan in till constant takha ani the. I don't know if I'm explaining this in Mizo properly, but I hope the message is getting across. But I don't want to spend too much time on it because I'm getting to other stuff. So I'm going to go on and I'll come back to this at the end of the segment. So I'm going to concentrate tonight's talk on the three broad themes. So when I speak about ethics here, ethics karondahian, I'm using the word ethics very loosely, and I'm not a professor of ethics. And so this is not a theory about ethics or an education about ethics in the strict academic sense, but basically to align my conversation to the program tonight. So I've made it into your interface with social media ethics, your interface with the ethics of caring for your environment, and your interface with the ethics of learning. So these are the three broad themes that I'll be concentrating on tonight. And so going on to the first one. So social media ethics, like for example, your real life behavior versus your web life behavior. So, okay, it might not be very savvy, but like this is the best thing that I could come up with. What I mean by this is this. So me as Gracie, I'm Gracie, and I as I was talking about what are my values, like integrity, kindness, to have gratefulness, all of these things. So me in real life, I try to practice this as much as possible. Like if you meet me on the streets, I will smile to you. If you don't look very good on a particular day, I will not necessarily say that you don't look good. Okay, so this is me in real life. But versus your web life, Katina Chantu, when the web, the social media has now provided this platform where the premium given to anonymity by social media has become very high. And as you can see, as young adults who are all, I'm sure, very tech savvy and has much presence in social media, if you use Instagram and Facebook and all of these platforms and Twitter, you will see the vile things that we have started to say towards each other. Like things that I will never say to you on your face or to others about you in real life. I am able to say these things on social media because of the mask that has been given to me by the platform themselves. So a lot of the handles that are used are speaking these kind of obscene, disturbing, and downright mean things on the internet. They will be phony handles that will be used by people, but real people who, if you meet in real life, will actually not will actually be the nicest people. So if so the anonymity that social media has given us has taken away much of the social values that we have. And so if you see like a picture of something like, hey, tunang laya, hey tuanin, we have a lot of these profiles on Instagram where they create like really mean memes about people, like whether it's our local celebrities or whether it's a certain person who has done or whether it's a miso girl or guy who's living abroad and who has a certain way of lifestyle. So we post about them, and then we have the vilest and the meanest and the most degrading things to say about them online. And so when you think about this, so when you think about that in terms of moral issues, like in terms of your ethics and your value system, you'll be like, well, they don't really know who I am, but so I can say all these things on social media because these people who are reading all of these comments do not know who I really am. But I want to tell you tonight what this is now, the legal part of it. I want to bring in, as I've put in the slides, to add the law to the mix. Now, when you bring the law within that whole equation, I want you to realize that things are going to start to change for you. Because the thing is, the mask that you think you have on social media platform is actually not, it's actually for the law. Dan mitatsuan, ka maska mo ineya inti angka, kaka dan mitatsuanin, maska lo ni reng lo ni. Di kakaron soidu ni clear the win. Because the law has the capacity of reaching behind the mask to you. So I want you to realize that as young adults and really, really try to internalize that as you practice your social media ethics from here on. So, and here I want to talk about defamation. I think last night you may have spoken a little bit about it with your freedom of speech and expression. So you know that, I don't know if they are political science students, but even if you are not a political science student, you should know you have a fundamental right to freedom of speech and expression. Okay, this is a constitutional guarantee. No one can take it away from you unless, okay, there's Anitani. So I'm sure you spoke about that last night, but so I'm not denying the fact that you have your freedom of speech and expression. Okay, I'm not denying that. Kakatu ine. Exercise, but the exercising of your freedom of speech and expression cannot be to such an extent that it start to infringe upon the right that another citizen has. Okay, I hope that's clear for you. So I'm going to try to break that down for you in terms of defamation. So it becomes a little bit exciting for you and a little bit relevant in terms of what's happening in our social culture in Aizawl at this point. So under section 499 IPC, IPC basically stands for Indian Penal Code. Okay, so if you've watched like local news where we translate a lot of television dramas to Mizo language, you will know that IPC section Savdan India IPC. So this is basically the code that we have, the criminal code of India, that defines what are criminal offenses and it gives punishments to them. So under section 499 IPC, defamation has been defined. Okay, and section 500 says that if you are found guilty for defamation, then you will be imprisoned for such and such. But defamation, what defamation kantia, we all speak about it like, oh, defamation case file, defamation na oma chati khati kantia, we kan shede uzulta masesha takki omlauta. You are not law students, and I don't expect you to know the nitty-gritties of everything, but you should know enough so that it dictates and it become you internalize it in your value system as you practice your social media ethics. Kan important like to highlight on that. So defamation, the salient features of it basically is that anything that you speak, okay, so that means slander, the point, anything that you speak, anything that you write that can be read, okay, and signs that you make, and visual representations, which includes memes, like the really mean memes that a lot of these sites are having these days. Video tenda included fekaniti ka in ngai. Okay, it's not just about iva soitiale izyak tiaringot kanilaw. Visual representation and signs, anything that can be perceived by the human senses. So what is important is that you have to realize that, try to internalize that. Yeah. So all of those, anything, all of the, when a person through those mediums, by making visual representations, by speaking, by writing, by making signs, he makes or publishes and imputes another person, okay, and imputes another person, and such imputation harms the reputation of that person. Kaka defamation law inati to anitani. So when you think about the definition is very wide. Like you are harming the reputation of another. Like for instance, for example, I'm talking to some group of people and Dr. Inpari, Chantinhi, Kadudu Zongin Suila, that amounts to defamation because it makes the count that publishing, you don't need to necessarily go and publish it online or in the newspaper. Anyone that makes a titane law. So if I do that, then I become subject to being prosecuted for the offense of defamation. So if what you are doing there, it's harming the reputation of someone else, then you start to realize and think that what am I doing? If variable then it starts to change things for you. So, and the defamation law says that you can commit defamation against a dead person, someone who's already died. Okay, you can defame an association or a company or a group of people. And fiam mizawina kanwar fiam tutitak kantichin, which is covered loosely under irony, that can also amount to defamation. And the threshold basically generally is just that in the eyes of others, if me soisela, mi chantin iva soyeka, mi ngai tuana a mishing a character or his conduct or how we esteem him as a person at tatniam. So that is the threshold. The threshold is really low if you think about it. Okay, so that is basically what the law says about definition, and it has certain exceptions. Okay, so and now I'm sure a lot of you people, like a lot of you young adults, are very informed these days, and you might think, well, the truth is a defense. Yes, the truth is a defense. The truth is a defense. If what I have spoken about, Dr. Inpari, is the truth, it can be a defense. But the thing is that the truth that I spoke about Dr. Inpari, for example, that had defamed her or that was not necessarily in her advantage, okay, Kamika, you can take the defense of it being the truth only if it was going to serve a public interest. So how is me talking about Dr. Inpari's life to others going to be in their interest? Then you start to realize that the law of defamation, like I have defamed so many people in my life. So the important thing for you as young adults right now is, as you do all these social media things, as you start to type in your comments and the way that even others, program pay to if you think about, if you add the law to your value system, then you start to realize that your freedom of speech is not absolute at all. Your fundamental right to saying whatever you want is not it's not with reasonable restrictions at all, because you can also be subject to defamation tika kan soiduni chuanin thil pakhat poi mo em kha. And I know that there might be questions from the students that will come up at the end of the segment when we'll take question and answers. I'm also conscious of the time, but I want to explain one particular issue, which is exception number 5 in Tani. It is not defamation in Tani. So the IPC gives you the definition of what defamation is, and it gives you certain exceptions. Exceptions in law basically means that this is the definition of defamation. However, if such happens, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 happens, then it is not tinanito, basically. Okay, so it gives you an exception. So one of the exception to defamation is that if a person expresses an opinion in good faith, but you expressing that particular opinion in good faith has to be proven by you, that you did not mean any malice or you did not have any adverse intention in what you were saying, because that you have to prove it yourself, and that becomes very, very difficult to prove. Okay, how are you going to prove how are you going to prove good faith? Just think about it. Proof don't tala hardan to layman tanpon more law. Yes, the lawyers are there and they'll do their thing and all that. But see, even just as a citizen, as a young adult, or as just a lawman, as mishing pa ngayang pun han nito ala thil ol ay ni lawdi to alang hal ring ani chuanin thil pakhat tun laya vex issue on kasoi chuak vek lawanga, because I don't want to talk about, I'm not going to discuss the facts at all, because it's a sub judice matter. Sub judice means that it is under consideration by the court. I'm not going to discuss those facts, but what is coming out of this is very important to each of you tonight. You need to listen to this, because the law says there is an exception to defamation. Exception it says that if you express an opinion in good faith on the merits of a case that has been decided by a court, so that has been decided means it's past tense. So the matter is no longer sub judice. It's already decided. Decision na omto, whether a person has been found guilty or not guilty, the decision, ultimate decision, court in asyam to. You can express your opinion in good faith concerning the character of a person or the conduct of a person in that case. So I know that each of you know that at this time in ISO, there is one particular case that everyone's talking about. Okay, it's a sub judice matter. I'm not going to discuss the facts with you. I cannot. I will say that again. But when you discuss about this particular case on social media, making your statuses and all of these things, when it is still being decided by the court and ultimate decision has not been made yet, what are you doing what are you doing in the light of the definition of defamation? Okay, I realize that this is on YouTube and a lot of people might be looking at it, and I'm sure there are people in law schools and people who practice law who are saying, well, it's not that simplistic. Yes, it's not that simplistic. There are a lot of variables there, but it is also simple in the sense that the definition of defamation is quite definite, and also it has been 499 has been held constitutional by the apex court, by the Supreme Court. So kami realization ka umbokse katita chuan tuna anile in real lang tura chuan. When I'm speaking about that, there's another one that I would like you to realize is that if censuring a person, like censuring, like disapproval, expressing disapproval over a person, like for instance, let's say in your educational establishments, I'm sure there are times when one of your professors have remarked on on a particular student, one of your classmates, and about their conduct. Mo an mani lampang class ma tipo low how theya, and ama character at the comment hezongi na low theya. So when katya ang katu defamation exception alutan niti kakan soido omzia tu defamation anilawani ti kakan soido ni chuan. For example, like you can also say, well, if if a defamation has to be in writing, and I'm talking about a particular like in principle, you can go and write a letter to him saying that this particular classmate of mine was doing this or that, or you can go to the police and submit an FIR and say that this particular person was doing this and that to me. So a question might arise to you and you think like, well, is that defamation? Because I'm not really sure. Like you can go to the police, for example, and say that, well, I think this person stole such and such from me. I'm not too sure. So natina ka soika and law defamation kan ron soito trangkhanan ngai to ula to defamation ani them tin ngai to khan mase natina ka soyang khan exception chunga khan khan ka alu de zela. So the law does carve out, it carves out well defined areas which fall under exceptions to defamation. So I'm going to stop there in terms of your social media ethics. I want you, so I hope kami variable, kami component, the social, the law component in social media ethics akan law dalu ulati in hemi segmented to topang. And the second one, so the ethics of caring for your environment. I realize that the way that I've sectioned it, it's going from here and there. I said these are things that I feel are really important, and as young adults, I feel like you should be well aware of. So as you can see, the ethics of caring for your environment, Karantini. So what does your environment include? You as a student, you as Patunga University students, your environment includes not only the water that you drink, the air that you breathe, the land on which you stand, your interrelationship with your fellow classmate, but also your interaction with other human beings, plants, microorganisms, and everything else that surrounds you. If mu the ang zong zong ne na relationship in a pui the ang zong zong kanti kha khatyang ho ne kang relationship in a pui zong zong the ne na interaction kha environment definition noya hian India dan pui Indian Environment Act dan pui chuan chu a define dan chu nitani, as you can see in the slides. So as you look at this environment, you will see a lot of water, air, land, interrelationship with Tikanta. I'm just going to break down all of these small components for you. So under the Mizoram Forest Act, which we have, the forest kanti hituanin hemi ramngo kanti ang ho hi lo ni tura ol samjong in soitai la chuanin ramngo kanti ang chuanin Mizoram Forest Act noya hian chuan reserve forest kanti ho chu mana changa reserve lo ni tonta mase government forest anni fekani ramngo ho zongjong hi. All the forests that you see in Mizoram, they are all considered to be government forests under the Mizoram Forest Act. So just take note of that. Okay, all the ramngo that you see as you travel, let's say from here to Simui, when you go for picnic with your friends along the road, that you see all of these, those are considered to be government forests, including those on private lands. Okay, so on wildlife animals kanti yan, there are two types. Okay, so wildlife kanti chuanin heta enge rama cheng ho kha anita, wild animals kanti ho kha nita. So an animal pangai to those that can live with us also. Shetame for poultry, for farming, all of these things. So to nita, and your relationship with all of them is now involves your environment. As you look at this definition, so your duty as a person, hetilai mihi and lawan mihi karonda kerta prevention from animal. Okay, tumika and loma chuanin. This is what your environment includes, katita. But there are certain main laws. Okay, I'm just going to state it out for you. I important vek lawa wangin intan. Must just for you to know. So your relationship with your environment around you is regulated by a lot of laws. Okay, so these laws are the Environment Protection Act, for which the definition has been given, and the Forest Conservation Act, the Wildlife Protection Act, the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act, and the Air Act, the Indian Forest Act, and the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act. So all of these relationships that you have with your environment are regulated by the law. And I want you to realize that and internalize that and add that to your value system. Because what does the Constitution require you? It requires that you will, the state is going to endeavor to protect and improve the environment, but even you have a duty to protect your environment. So Now, okay, so I'm going to go back there, sorry. So why did I bring this up, Katina Chantu? Like these days, a lot of you, I'm sure, are hearing a lot about what climate change is all about. Okay, so climate change is a really, really important thing, and it's really, really relevant. And it's not just about because, well, BTS went to United Nations General Assembly and they talked about the Sustainable Development Goals. It is about that, but it is also more than that. And I want you, as young adults, it's so important that you internalize this, like in real and it is not only about Greta Thunberg going to the United Nations and shaming all the world leaders. And I'm all for her. I mean, I really support her and all that. But it is important that those things, BTS going to the United Nations General Assembly and Greta Thunberg speaking about this, and you hearing a lot about how celebrities like Leonardo DiCaprio, he's such a climate change champion. He speaks about it all the time. So it's not only about you looking at all of these things, but it's about you internalizing that, adding that to your value systems, and actually allowing you unlearn and relearn, learn how those things that you hear about can change your life. So for a lot of you, you're hearing about all of these things, and maybe it's not something that you really understand, or you really have time to go to the internet and do your own research about it. But take this time right now, I'll speak a little bit about climate change so that you are able to have an informed idea about these things, so that it becomes a part of your ethics, your ethics. So as you know, like climate change kakaron so care na chanchu environment kan ti kan climate po ka include ka your interrelationship karon dia ka definition dia karon ti chwan chan po ka ani ni. So climate change chuan, basically the world is round, right? So the world is round, it's like an apple, let's say, or a globe, which would be a better reference. So a globe, and then there is, consider it as like this thing around the world. At po na kan Saturn cover like that, there are gases there in our atmosphere. So that the gases which are present in the atmosphere are called greenhouse gases. So the greenhouse gases, basically, they allow the sun's heat to come down to the earth so that you can feel warm and you can go out wearing your shorts and your, like we don't live next to the beach, but Sabarmatan, you go to the beach and with your bikini, it's nice, all of these things. Mase heat, the heat, it comes down to the earth and then it reflects back, right? So I reflect the atmosphere greenhouse gas it traps everything. That's why ISO has become really hot. It's October and it's really, really hot. Like I can't bear it. October heat was the most horrible month. Like it's like the entire insect in the entire forest would just come to destroy my life. And it was so hot, it was always humid, and there was no power all the time. So these are all the effects of climate change that you as a young adult is going to feel. And the Sustainable Development Goals that BTS spoke about in the UN General Assembly was so important because climate change has a lot to do with development. So climate change and greenhouse gases, the four major greenhouse gases are carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, fluorinated gases. So these are the four ones, but the main culprit would be carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide to inshata, because of advancements and development. So for instance, I feel really hot in my room and I want an AC. For me to have an AC, I need energy. For energy to be given to my room, the grid the supply. In order for the grid to have energy supply, fossil fuels burn. Fossil fuels can burn. What are we emitting? We're emitting CO2, right? So this is just a cycle that, and you as young adults, you need to see that what am I contributing to the well-being of my environment, of my planet. And so these greenhouse gases, they stay in the atmosphere for so long. Okay, and what is to the climate change? And you think like, well, Mizoram too, we have a lot of ramngo. Why should I worry about climate change so much? You might think that, but the why people keep saying climate change is a global issue. The CO2 that's emitted in the United States, it's going to affect you. It's going to affect me. It's going to affect your children. It's going to affect your parents. Because the CO2 that stays in the Earth's atmosphere like this, they mix together. And eventually we all feel it. So katakan as young adults, what are the things that you can bring about change in like, for instance, it's not necessary for you to buy everything that's on sale in Zara. Like I mean, I get it, like it's on sale and it's really good, or in H&M, and hey, dum pakat in chuan du tokla or patni ilon chuan du tokla. Try to limit your spendings, and for instance, like, and also be ethical about your shopping. Like til pakat ke encourage du so, and I say this most wholeheartedly, is that now you see a lot of these all of these Instagram atipo businesses, small startups kan nga ani chon thomno titlom tak takinan zwarta. And just think about it, you're buying a shoe that costs 500 rupees and that was imported from China. How far is China from Mizoram? And the China changa anron pur homan remote pokan me to top teu zanga mansunga kan engtin nge lu theyang. So you realize that the production is so unethical. It's going to be so unethical. I know, boys and girls, that you cannot, all of us cannot afford to buy chocolates from Oxfam, or, you know, we cannot afford to buy everything made of linen and cotton and that is like ethically produced. Economy po na zolo. But you can limit them. You can limit your purchase power. You can, not power, you can limit your purchase. And oh, hey, lights off, remote there. Make all these small things. Just think about the footprints that you leave. Your carbon footprint ethical is value system akan add to and because the law regulates it, and eventually a crime can be committed, like especially in relation to your relationship with animals. Hey, and I hope no one is practicing this. These are not allowed at all. They're punishable. You should know that. So, and dikta kasoy tuanin tuna the Mizoram Mizoram Animal Slaughter Bill 2020 kan Mizoram legislature in the past to tani. Kamiya pekan tuan slaughtering of dogs is not allowed at all. Governor assent but even then the food safety and standard regulations disallow, says that consuming dog meat is safety standards. So these are the laws that regulate it, and if you are ignoring this purposely, despite knowing this, one day the law is going to catch up to you. So hemi Allah satanin, I don't Allah satan hemi graph de it's not mine, of course. I give credit to the source where I took this from. So basically in Entuan, 29% of the Earth's surface atuan habitable land te omta, uninhabitable land omta masihe tilay among hihan en ula apoy mo lai bertu vegetarian kanya kansoy lokanga. I don't eat meat. I don't eat meat because I was never a vegetarian. I became a vegetarian, and I want to say this to you. And I'm not saying that tomorrow you should decide to not eat meat, but in meat consumption po ka decreased. Our Saturday shoppings are sa kanu po heron kai ho tun sa omlo tuanin. My brother, he doesn't like to in ngai lo katyang kakanita. We are like that. Masi, I'm not asking you to reduce, I'm not asking you to become a vegetarian like me, but I'm asking you to reduce your meat consumption. You can do it. Because if you look at the graph, see agricultural land, I had 77% he livestock atan agricultural land hin mangani. Masel livestock ina produce I had 17% he kay money consumption alud. The rest is the livestock kay money min feed to thaukan. Shethiamem kay money min feed to ra arte bongte vokte kan vulna akhan kan vegetation ka alud levek thau. So this is so unsustainable. More BTS fans how can low and han lo ngai thaula kaka unsustainable ja to kakanya. I wish I could dwell on this more, but I'm conscious of the time. It's already 8:49 and I still have another one that I really want to talk about, the last one, the ethics of learning. So number one is take responsibility for your own learning. And when I was in Dr. Bobby in the beginning, he said that I had done my education abroad. And yes, I did my education abroad. And there was this one class that I took, which was on international law and human rights and children's rights. So, and my professor was Professor John Tobin. He's one of the most exceptional guys that I've ever met. And so even though a lot of us were already doing our postgraduate, I was 33 years old when I went and did my further studies, and a lot of my classmates were the same. Like we were all like career professionals, and we were coming back to do a little bit more learning. So, but John Tobin, my professor, would always say that you should take responsibility for your learning. So these are his words, not mine. And so every day we would do a topic and we do like an intensive course. Our courses will start from 7 and will go until 5 at night. So and then the next day, on the morning of the next day, we will always start with quizzes. Okay, so why? And a lot of us were like, oh my gosh, it's such a pain. You know, I don't want to start my day with like getting nervous about whether I'm going to get it right in the quiz or not. But what he would say was that you should take responsibility for your learning because you're paying a lot of money, and you should get your money's worth of education. Well, in India, the system of education is that what I want to take my professor John Tobin's words further is that right now we live in COVID times, and a lot of you are doing your exams through online. So that's where I want to see. That's where what I really want to talk about. It's a lot of you are doing your exams online, and it's easy for you to cheat. It's very easy for you to cheat and to lie in your written words. You might think that your professors will not know about it, but mind you, they're smarter than you think, and they will know. But what I want you to realize and to add to your value system is that there is this thing called plagiarism and cheating. Plagiarism, your professors are very well aware of it in the academic field, is basically stealing the ideas, the words and the expressions, the illustrations and things of others that belongs to others. You use it and appropriate it as your own. So I'm sure a lot of you I'm sure a lot of you may have done, and I wish you are. I want you to realize that you should try to take responsibility for your learning, because at the end of the day, you stand to gain from this. If you, as a student, decide that it's so easy for me to just speak on this particular topic, and because my teacher is not going to know, because it's not a physical exam and I can do whatever I want. But the thing is, number one, you are plagiarizing. Number two, that even though it might not necessarily be a crime, it is unethical. It's just simple, plain unethical, and it's going to affect you. Okay. So, but it's also, if the law catches on to you, it can lead to copyright infringement. Okay. So then you'll have to end up paying a lot of damages, and the law doesn't really care whether you have money or not. So this is what I just want to add to you, like take responsibility for your own learning. When you give your exams online, try to say that, well, you know, even though my teacher is not, my professor is not seeing me give this particular, do this particular exam physically, and he or she doesn't know whether I am cheating or not. Okay, but you can be plagiarizing, which is unethical, like I said. And if you plagiarize now at the time that you're still learning, it's going to be much more easier for you to do these things when you grow up. So your value system akan tuna ngit takin eng mahi ka plagiarize lawanga kathiam lo ni tong kathiam lo angin kathiam lo meyang kathiam lo ni tong kazir tur lom ti thangin apuyang chiti kha kan soi dua. Secondly is about you need to be more curious about your learning. Like even today, at a time span of 1 hour, I'm covering a lot of things. Like I could teach an entire class for 2-3 months on just even the first topic, defamation. Can teach. But the thing is, it's on you to be curious about these things and to go and do your own research about the things that we discussed today, and even reflect on them. because the thing is that at the end of the day, if you are a human being who is able to make decisions for himself from a place of emotional intelligence, that is the most important thing, and that is going to help you even in your work later on. And the last thing is that you have to be willing to unlearn. Like from my experiences, like I had parents who were able to send me to for example, like swimming. Let's take it for example, like gym class and my gym teacher would just make everyone go to the swimming pool. Doesn't matter whether you know how to swim or not. And I would just drown there and then just, scramble my way on top, and somehow I just learned how to swim. Not even swim, learn how to make it from point A to point B in the pool, in the water. So the things that I know the strokes and all that, and money in hey ulta pulta vek diklovik in kan lo thyan veni. But now 30s, in the latter part of my 30s, I'm relearning how to swim. So the exercise of willing to unlearn and relearn, I want you to add it to your value systems. So with that, thank you. I ended.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Gracie. You have delivered important topic on human values and ethics with clarity and enthusiasm, and we really benefited from it. I think we still have some time for discussion, if you allow us to. May I request Dr. Vanilla Puya to facilitate the discussion. Please facilitate the discussion. Puya, are you here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to appreciate the zeal and the care that our resource person has, which was apparent from her speech and from her expressions. I believe she did not simply speak in her capacity as a judiciary official, but as a human being, as a citizen, as someone who truly cares for others and our students also. So now I'll be reading out one of the questions from the chat box, which is asked by one of our students. And I'll hand over the time again after this to our resource person to answer the question. So the first question here is, according to section 499 IPC, any form of defamation which harms the reputation with some exceptions, one can be prosecuted. If that's the case, then does it mean criticisms or talking to others about someone else in a bad way, or even critics who criticizes movies, art, food, books, etc., or even stating an opinion about someone which can harm their reputation without good faith can be prosecuted?
Thank you for your question. Whoever asked this, I can tell that person was listening. Okay, so number one, I'll address the latter part of the question first. Number one is that you're saying that, so when the critiques that you make in terms of movies and books, all of these, they come under one exception. I did not discuss the entire exception because this IPC itself lists out 10 exceptions. Okay, one of the exception is that when performers, they perform in public. Okay, so basically the language is, wait, hold on. Yeah. When the character of it is submitted to the judgment of the public. This is what I wanted to take out from the law. So the law says that when you are submitting your particular performance or your particular work, for example, Dr. Van Puya has released a book. Okay, so it has gone to the public domain. The very fact that he has released a book means that he wants it to be read by others, right? So he has released a book, so he has subjected it to the judgment of the public. So that comes under the exception. So that means that anybody who criticizes his book, whether it is constructively or otherwise, they will become under the exception. Masi otherwise, Katia Khan, it is going to be Dr. Van Puya's work only. Okay, not in terms of it say, well, for example, you can say Dr. Van Puya has written a book on feminism angin lo soi tai la. Okay, let's say this, just loosely say, you can say that, well, I can't believe Dr. Venpuia is actually putting out a book on feminism when his particular field of study is this and that, and I don't believe he will come out with a very intellectual or a very thought-provoking arguments in his book. That is not that is not defamation. It becomes defamation, let's say, when they say, well, Dr. Venpuia has put out a book on feminism. Okay, one. Number two, I don't think this book is going to be any good because he is also known in his locality to not be really caring about his wife, for example, or he was such and such in school and he has slapped a girl in school or blah blah blah. Then it becomes defamation. So that I hope it answers the first question also, because that one, it asks about the character. When you speak about the character of a person, like, you cannot speak about me. You can speak about me in terms of, I am a public servant. Again, for public servants, for government servants, like, I'm Gracie and I have a lot of my work on the internet. Like, my judgments are all over the internet because the Indian judicial system is such that our judgments are all online. You can criticize my work, okay, in terms of the law. Like, you can say that maybe Gracie was not really, she did not appreciate the evidence properly in this particular case, and you can criticize it. That's not defamation. It comes under the exception. But if you say that Gracie is not, her judgment, Gracie yanin avan siam chalo aruyan yang asam lain min lo tita se more, just how the vile language that social media uses these days, then it becomes defamation. So your words, the way you criticize me, has to be in connection with my work. And when you are criticizing a particular person, okay, everything is defamation except when you're when you're talking about his public functions. The definition is very wide. That's why it's being challenged. Even in the apex court, it was challenged as being unconstitutional because it infringes on the freedom of speech and expression at Tita, but the court has held it constitutional. And yeah,
Okay, thank you very much. I think we still have time to take up the next question also. And the next question is, according to Section 3, Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act, unnecessary form of suffering to animals is against the law. Does this apply to farm animals or animals we kill for our food, like pigs, cows, chicken, and even dogs? How does it define necessary form of suffering? Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act kantihanin. Hengang sa eyatan kan tantrinang tehi tin yava ve pa la femni tizona ani ome helayan avo hom ve la femni agom lo na chani enge tikazona laimu tak nin kasia.
Very, very, very good question. Like, yes, it's very legal. I might get a little bit technical, but I'm just looking at the definition again. And it says the definition, the well-being of such animal and to prevent infliction upon such animal of unnecessary pain or suffering. The understanding of unnecessary pain or suffering in the law is quite different from killing. Okay, so I'm just going to give you an example. Dr. Bobby was saying that in the beginning, my areas of interest is international humanitarian law. My specialization is basically on international humanitarian law, and which international humanitarian law is about the laws of war, the laws of armed conflict, like Indona, Antika. Okay, so let's say hypothetically, India is at war with Bangladesh, let's say, okay, and our armies are fighting at each other. They have the right to kill each other. That's the privilege of belligerency that they both have. So, and lo sipay kalaw nita, I can kill my enemy combatant, kill thayani. Mase under the Geneva Conventions, the killing is one thing, but then if I put them through unnecessary pain and suffering in order to kill them, in order to make them lifeless, an mani thattur khan, unnecessary pain and suffering akal omti. For example, putting them in a gas chamber when I can shoot them with a pistol. Gas chamber it's going to put them under a lot of suffering, right? Or if I maim them and leave them to bleed to die. So that's unnecessary pain and suffering. Where my ultimate objective is to bring the death of my enemy combatant, then I do it by shooting them in point blank. So it comes with that animals apokan. I don't know if that's a very good reference, but I'm trying to make a point for you here. Animals apokan. The animals are can, yes, and well-being he can equal to any. For example, let's talk about chickens. Kan en lauta an purdan he the life transport of chickens the way that you transport them and keja po leng tok lawa kan da a chen pei to an purna an won thita ni to khang kha dikta ka soiton he phal lawinta. That's why I want you to internalize as your value system, because you are a generation who can do better, who can look at all of these things and say, no, this is wrong, the law doesn't allow it. To a generation in ya kan generation he kaduayin kan walk lawa, and we are a generation that's not very brave. But this generation, you have a lot of platforms. So the animals slaughter halani. There are animals that can be slaughtered. There is a law for that regulates that. That will provide you what are the animals that can be slaughtered. Okay. So we ha slaughtered tailo turakan tunakan bil thar nei chuan arun siam to tani chu. Dogs cannot be slaughtered now. So when you are slaughtering a pig or a cow, if you put them through unnecessary pain and suffering, then you become subject to the penal provision that is provided by the Prevention of Cruelty from to Animals Act. Unnecessary pain and suffering. I hope that explains with the soldier reference that I made. If it's not clear, then can explain further here, but
coping here is how to cope by getting hun kala tam long adot lezo no mi zo trong in ron ziaka kan chia le ha menge o so to man heng values le zom tu bi ma ni ta na tha zong te hi in soya heng te hi atlang puin me che te zom tu bi ken society hian da thi ni re zon society hian mi pa te tan exception a siam itiam tikha azona ne ya azona phena hianin tu lai dan kan han sai hianin me che te min tum de bi ke mo mi pa te kan ba long tlem le ti tu te hin nei tlem bi kru ka he ti na kha ani de ka lai ka min han sai za sak the ngam
me che te ti tur bi ani in alanga athi mi kha ti kha
tu lai heng dan kan sai ta thil tha kan sai tam tak hi tlang puin me che te zom tur bi ken society hian ada thini ni ria mi pa te hi exception asiam ni ria elai to kan social condition as on
no I am a feminist, so I'm just going to say outright, and I'm going to say I mean, our men are becoming too lazy. We're expecting too little from them. So in Tsunga ni se Atseber tu metia, Rora tu metia, Satal tu metia, Pona Tomezor tu metia. All of these things, women are doing all of this. I'm not saying men are not doing it. Men are doing it, but we are placing too less reliance on men because of the money and status as a society. Ang poa kanlo da chung nun rei to lu tu ka wang hian patriarchal society kanya. There's no denying that, and overnight we're not going to turn into a matriarchal society. It's just not going to happen. Mase mi pati kan da chung nun na kai mani ru kai ma feminist ka intinge po hian internalization an nasa to lu tu ka kai ma po hian mi pati lo tu de wangai na te kala nei hu zel, and I have to constantly correct myself. Even though I feel like I am quite advanced, I feel quite educated in this way, but I might not be. But you know, so emotionally intelligent decision kasiam theito ka intervene. But even me, po hian tilti tu reng a hianin mi pati ain ka tituri atamzo ka inne na riau hi kalane tatani. So if you look at a very, very patriarchal society like we have in Mizoram, then yes, definitely enki mahian mechate titu zo ka kanda enki mitu na hian han enteu mi pati tu hi atlem tolu tuka kan mi pate hi kihan chuan kan an mani hi an niam ti na ni mia lovin an mani hi an inrin tok na te hi kan ti niam tel telani expectation kan ni claim tu khian to answer very, very broadly, because I'll go on for another 3 hours if you ask me to talk about feminism. So it's one kadab ka do talk me one.
Okay, thank you very much. Hun here tam tolo mai the kan ho tu te lam khai nge anh chen ngen phal ka lo ma se khang zo na pathum poi mo tak tak mai le mai nom tak tak mi mal tin po student ang po kan tang kai pui le wan tlang kan na kan tang kai pui te an zo chok te kan lom le a zo na zo tu te chunga tin na chan na po that mai kan nei the a discussion kan
Servant Pui, chat box to everyone here kanin Mam Gracie la kain garing na mo question na
pakhat hey kan share swak him shilong midang create down po. The other day I came across this person saying a non-vegetarian advocating for animal rights is hypocritical. Do you agree, Alantieri?
The first one, ma'am, even if the said allegation is true, he can changlo kang Nachin Khan kalau so ito the said allegation is true. Truth can be a defense kan tito ka. Mase number one is public ina anshiat kherkha tulem kha dikhani tani. So the nachina karon so ka. Yes, truth can be a defense if you're saying something about someone which is true. Yes, it can be a defense. But is it necessary that needs to be said for the public good is another question you need to ask. So it is only when those two components are fulfilled, then it comes under the exception. Okay, so I hope that answers it. So the second one, the other day I came across this person saying a non-vegetarian advocating for animal rights is hypocritical. Do you agree? No, I don't agree. Because I think that being vegetarian or being a non-vegetarian or this and that, it's a personal choice that we make. And I think we have done hypocritical stuff in our lives multiple times, every day of our lives. Hypocritical more. So you cannot place one evil as higher than the other, or one hypocriticism as hypocriticality. Is that even a word? I don't know. Higher than the other. So it's a personal choice, but yanin a tura min pek ten ya. Kan a tura ni apuilo. Mase me trying to become a vegetarian is basically my commitment to climate change, trying to reduce my carbon footprint, hoping that what tikan sakalo a tun ula in AI ka in a ka AI in low a don ya tiang dewani chu kaya kanita. So trying to make a place where for the next generation of people, this world will not be such a desert like omnatan chentlak lo khwa ramma kan in siam sak ai chuan hei kati ve thei to kalom ti in kati ni me. And I don't think there's any hypocrisy in a person fighting for animal rights and eating them, because at the same time there are laws that regulate it. So the laws of ensuring that you are not cruel to animals, even if you are going to kill them, that you do not inflict unnecessary pain and suffering in your transportation of them, in the way that you feed them, in the way that you look after them, and that you abide by the laws when it comes to slaughtering them. So katyang zong khan te ma chuan kariru chuan om.
Okay. We had a very lively and interesting discussion. Is there any question from the faculty side, from the organizers? Anything? Okay, if there is no more question from the faculty side and from the student side, then I will conclude the discussion. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Viren Puya, for facilitating the discussion. Miss Gracie kan mu top na PUC ani don lawin ka siya enthusiastically tokin a topic ka itwiti ka siya ta midang po hanggan la som chao ze don che ani mela edang mandre mi ti chanin topic dang feminism chungzang po khada ka thum soi tur la niya khami chungzang ate pa hanggan la take up tin karinga kan la mu fo don ani mel. May I now invite Sir MS Dong Liana from the Department of Philosophy to give a concluding remark.
Thank you, Ms. Mami. On this remarkable event, the Human Values and Ethics Committee, Pachunga University College, is extremely grateful to 1. Our resource person, Mrs. Gracie L. Boydlum, for accepting our invitation and sparing her valuable time, and for sharing with us her resourceful knowledge on human values and ethics. 2nd, to the principal for his immense support in all the committee endeavors. 3, the IT committee for their help and support. And last not least, to all the participants for your contribution for the success of this program. Our topic tonight is a very vast topic, actually, that could actually take a series of long lectures. However, our resource person has given us the idea in a nutshell when she highlighted the importance of understanding human values in relation to its legal elements. Value system that dictates human way of life, the humility to learn, unlearn, and relearn, ends and means relation, which is actually a philosophical topic. In a broad way, the importance of cultivating social media ethics, highlighting how media could take away our values, the importance of the ethics of caring for the environment, or in other words, environmental ethics. The importance of the ethics of learning, where responsibility, curiosity, and will that go along with it. There were 4 questions meaningfully responded. It is our utmost request from the cell or the committee and expectation that we live and strengthen our morality or ethics with the right value. Let us all remember the significant lessons that we have received tonight. Thank you all.
Khan kan zo tiro na chin khan en lo de
audio kalau switch mo sorry audio kalau switch ka chong current retail lawa Sir MS